What is a client request? A client request is sending a notification to your client of something that you need from them. So for example, if I click on go to pipeline, and let's say this client is sitting here on missing, they really are sitting here on missing information, right? And they happen to have that missing docs tag onto them. This would require for your client to give you, I don't know, a missing W-2 image that they forgot to add in the organizer. If you click on the new button here, you'll see a whole bunch of items that are automatically going to be linked to this job. You can send an invoice outside of this job to the client, which is fine. You can send a signature request outside of this job to the client, is fine. And you can send any requests, but you want them to be linked in here so that you see them listed visually as part of this whole process. Notice that in this case, I'm pending an engagement letter. Usually they get that signed by stage one, but right now I'm seeing that this is pending. I'm seeing that this task is also pending and needs to be completed by somebody, right? I didn't really assign anybody, so I can assign it to somebody in the team. These are the sections on the job that will give you all the details that you need and say, what's pending with this client? Did they sign? Is there anything that I need to do? Was there anything that needs to be assigned to me? This is where you mainly will work off of via each individual account. So in this case, I am missing something. I noticed that I don't have a W-2. I'm going to click new, okay, and I'm going to click on client request. Client request is going to automatically send Mr. Bear here whatever I fill out. I can choose from a template. Usually there's not going to be a template that I use too often because each client is always missing something different. I could have a client that maybe added their address backwards and I couldn't really read it. So I'm going to ask for them to type in their address one more time. I need a yes or no question answered. I need their W-2. I need their, other forms. I need a picture of their license. So here you can tailor the information to, hello, please send your W-2 because I got a picture of your shoe or something silly like that. It can happen. People send the wrong things. They choose the wrong pictures. So you can say something like this. The title can be needed information. And my question here is a file upload. Okay. This file upload is going to be upload W-2. That's it. When you see a red asterisk, this is similar to an organizer when you add or remove questions. If you see a red asterisk, it means it's required. If you don't want it to be required, then you can toggle it off. A required question means that if they do not answer, the system will not allow them to submit. Okay, so I would add it as required because I absolutely need it. I can't have them skip this question. If I want reminders, I can set them up here. And if I require the client to sign in, perfect, I'll require them to sign in. Otherwise, you can toggle that off. And if they click on the link via email, it'll take them to the question. They can simply upload their stuff and they're done. I recommend to have them sign in when they have to upload things for security purposes. So everything in TaxZone is secure, by the way, but if your client feels like it's sensitive information and they require a sign in for that, do it. If you're just asking like a yes or no question, I suggest you toggle this off just so you can give them the flexibility of not having to sign in, right? All right, so I'm going to hit send. And when I hit send, notice that there will be a client request here linked. When you see these two triangles next to each other, it means that there is an auto move trigger. which means if they fulfill this, if they submit this, and anything else that requires fulfillment, as long as all three here, for example, are completed, that's when the move to the next stage will happen. It will not move strictly if this is complete. I have these other things pending. If I don't want to wait for this proposal, I can unlink it by clicking on the X so that it doesn't affect my triggers. And also, when you send a client request, you want to make sure that there's nothing else pending. So for example, this task needs to be completed in order for this client request to trigger the move to the next stage, right? So I'm going to hit save here, right? And in this stage, it's not going to move to the next stage because what I'm waiting for is for the client to give me the answers that I need. I need that W-2, right? If I don't complete this and if I leave it as this, and if my client does in fact, give me what I need, then it's not going to move to the next stage because this is still a pending task. So whenever you send anything, make sure you complete your task and leave this as a pending item to be fulfilled. That way I can sit back and relax, work with other clients while I wait for this client to answer my question. How do I know that they answered my question? Because it's going to move to the next stage, which is prep post missing info. That's where I go in here and change these tasks. Your job is to go through each stage here and add the task that you need. If it doesn't exist, create it from scratch. And notice these other stages are pretty much filled with tasks. This is a task that needs to be fulfilled. These are tasks that need to be fulfilled. Some of these you might not need them, so you can delete them and ideally just have one task per stage. This is ultimately up to you, right? I'm just giving you the tools that you need to start manipulating. And that's really all that you need, because I can't tell you how you process your tax returns. You probably have completely different steps that you do. Maybe your firm doesn't really do extensions. Maybe they do. Maybe you are very rarely does your clients have missing information, and you don't need a whole stage for that. You just want to use the job statuses. That's fine. As long as you understand how to manipulate this, that is truly what matters. Okay. And I want to make sure that as you use TaxDome, you start getting more and more familiar with these processes. We did cover a few items on here, right? So I want to make sure that everybody kind of gets a nice idea of what we covered through some of the questions. There's always going to be Q&A here that is very commonly suggested to answer.